Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back, and time now for the nation's sharpest opinion, where I speak my mind. I don't pull my punches, I never do, but I say things that need to be said, where I connect the dots, which is at the core of our profession, and I think it should be very easy for anyone to connect the dots and see the Chinese hand behind what is happening in the Middle East. When I referred to it yesterday, we got a lot of feedback. A lot of global analysts, a lot of conversations saying this is the point that the global media is not looking at, and even if it knows, does not want to talk about it. And that is, what exactly is China's role in what is happening in the Middle East? I'm not putting out a surmise, but I'm just wondering whether we can leave what has happened to an absolute coincidence. Is it a coincidence, ladies and gentlemen? Is it a coincidence that within a few days of the G20, which China virtually boycotted because Xi Jinping didn't come, within a few weeks of that, less than a month of that, announcement at the G20 about the India, Middle East, Europe corridor, which will be transformative, not just to India's relationship with Europe, the Middle East, but will create an economic corridor which will bring wealth, prosperity, jobs, technology, and most importantly, every aspect of trade between these three regions, and which will be transformative to the economies involved. Economies like Jordan, economies like Saudi Arabia, economies like the Mediterranean countries, and of course the economy of India. Within a few days of the G20, where this major announcement has been made, China quietly watches, says nothing, as the Hamas carry out a completely unprovoked, one-sided attack on the Israelis. China knows that the Hamas is evil. China knows it as well as it did that the COVID virus has the potential to threaten millions around the world. But you see, the Chinese cannot look beyond their personal interest, ladies and gentlemen. And therefore, we must connect the dots. What is Iran's role in all this? What would happen to Iran and China if the India, Middle East, Europe corridor was to be successful? Already the Belt and Road Initiative of China, into which it had sunk hundreds of billions of dollars, is a frightful failure. But it would evaporate, it would be redundant if the India, Middle East, Europe corridor were to actually start moving and start transforming the economies, lives, societies of the peoples whose lives it touches. Iran is completely vested with China in the BRI. And therefore it is in Iran's interest, it is in China's interest, that there is some kind of potential conflict in which there is a reorganizing of forces, and the forces of development, those who want this India, Middle East, Europe corridor to work, are pushed aside. And in the middle of this dissonance, in the middle of this global conflict, in the middle of the emotions and the violence and the killings that will be unleashed by an unprovoked Hamas attack, because China knows Israel will respond, because Israel has taken a vow never to repeat or allow itself to suffer what happened in the mid-1900s. Therefore, China knows Israel will respond. All it needs is a trigger and an attack, the kind of cowardly attack that the Hamas carried out on the 7th of October is that trigger. Now watch, viewers. Is it that the world operates suddenly and it all begins to come to China's advantage? Is it that the Hamas has done this on its own? That the Chinese don't know the consequences or the positive impact on the failing BRI? I don't think so. It is important to connect the dots. The problem with the global community is the moment COVID is over, they forget the possible Chinese hand behind the Chinese virus. In this case too, emotions are running so high that the civilized world should look at what the potential Chinese hand in this, or what the Chinese benefit is, or what the Chinese beneficiaries are. We have to look at these questions. We have to corner the Chinese. We have to push them into taking a stand. They cannot be beneficiaries of murders and disease. And that's what the Chinese have become. Global beneficiaries of viruses and killings. Ladies and gentlemen, do not ignore the China angle. Global analysts, strategic analysts, geostrategic experts owe it to the world to go deep into this. Don't let the Chinese get away. Let's debate.